Ground, September 1923. The cuckoo clock in the Stube read a few minutes before 11 in the morning when Jutta heard the doorbell ring. She finished wiping down a table before dropping the rag into the bucket, just as the hanging bell above the front door clanged. Hadn't she locked it? Emilio, Rioba, and the two carabinieri he never seemed to be without, Vincenzo and Girardelli, stepped into the dining room. Of course, Rioba still had a key. His policeman had the same look dogs do before being released on a hunt. "Buongiorno, Signora Hani," he called. "The kitchen's closed on Tuesdays." He took off his fez and looked around the stube. "Cambiano I suonatori, ma la musica è sempre quella." She squared herself against him. "I know that you speak my language. Tell me what you want." Rioba sighed and placed his cap back on his head, then gestured to the other two. Girardelli hesitated a moment, gave a respectful nod, and he and Vincenzo turned on their heels to go back into the hallway. Jutta moved to follow them. They had no business in her inn, but Rioba held up a hand, blocking the way. "Prego, signora, stay here." He looked around. "No guests." "I told you already, we're closed on Tuesdays." She had two geologists from Munich, and they had the necessary permits to be here. She didn't care who Rioba was, or that Girardelli had just been assigned as police captain. They had no right to harass her customers. She stared the prefect down. In any other world, Rioba might have been a nice man. The curly black and grey hair, the distinguished features, and the intelligent eyes gave the impression of a pleasant man. He was also very fit for his age. She had often seen him walking the hills early in the morning. The days when the Italians were their summer guests and had gone climbing with people like Johi Thaler as their guide, those days were gone, but she could imagine Rioba being one of those Sommerfrischler, then coming back to the inn, refreshed, rejuvenated, hungry, and sitting down to dinner with his family, with enough energy to play with his grandchildren, if he even had a family. From the kitchen, she heard something crash to the floor and shatter into what must have been 1,000 pieces. Rioba raised his eyebrows before Jutta shoved past him and to the kitchen. The policemen were sorting through her porcelain and throwing each and every piece onto the tiles. In his hand, Vincenzo, the small squarish brute, held her mother's handmade water pitcher. He sneered, lifted it above his head, and slammed it to the floor. It shattered like an egg, liquid and shell. Behind her, Rioba murmured something reprimanding, but it sounded false in her ears. Girardelli looked at least sheepish, like a naughty schoolboy, as he destroyed her expensive serving platter. In his hand, Rioba held a stack of the postcards that Jutta kept at her front desk. He fanned them out, their backs right side up. His tone was the one that she used with Alois when she had to explain repeatedly why she was denying him something. "No German, Signora Hani. Forbidden. No Tedesco, capiche? We had this discussion before. No signs in German. No dishes in German. No postcards in German. No maps in German. Solo in Italiano. Siamo in Italia. We are in Italy."